Tonight, the horrific, deadly collision near the crown jewel of America's national park system, Yellowstone. A pickup truck crashing into a tour van, smoke and flames across the highway, the road closed. The disturbing developments tonight at DCA, months after that deadly crash. The new questions tonight after 2 aborted landings. A potential breakthrough in President Trump's trade war with China. For the first time, China now suggests it's open to starting trade talks with the U.S. under one crucial condition. Tonight, dangerous storms moving into the Northeast, possible tornadoes, large hail, flash flooding. From Texas to New York, the heavy rain throughout the weekend. Student loan deadline, what you need to know as the government gets ready to make a major change. Rose petals and a blade, the shocking turn in a 2021 murder after an accomplished pianist confesses. It's the subject of tonight's 2020.
First thing I noticed was the rose petals everywhere. This is weird, dude. There was also a chemical odor and just a lot of blood. A lot of blood.
And singer-songwriter Rachel Platten is using her powerful voice to spark important conversations. She's here to talk with us about her newest album, I Am Rachel Platten.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
And good evening, I'm Phil Lipoff in tonight for Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We are going to begin with that horrific, deadly accident just outside Yellowstone National Park, what appears to be a head-on collision between a truck and a packed tour van. At least 7 people are dead. The accident on Highway 20 in Idaho, right near the Montana border, a medical helicopter you see arriving to take the injured to the hospital as smoke and flames rage below. 14 people were on that tour bus. At least 6 of them are dead. The other 8 injured. The driver of the truck also did not survive. The crash happening just as Yellowstone's peak tourism season begins. The tourists who died are reported to be foreign nationals. Authorities are now notifying their next of kin. Armola Lengi leads us off tonight from Denver.
Tonight, the deadly inferno on an Idaho highway. A Dodge Ram pickup colliding with a van filled with tourists. Both vehicles engulfed in flames. Emergency crews racing to the scene on Highway 20, along with a medical chopper. 14 tourists, who authorities say are foreign nationals, were on board a Mercedes tour van at the time. It happened just over the Montana border, 20 miles from the main entrance to Yellowstone National Park. At least 6 of the 14 members of the tour group were killed.
Both vehicles were broadside across the highway. It had appeared they had maybe hit head-on.
Roger Merrill says by the time he got to the scene, multiple drivers were already helping survivors.
Other travelers that had stopped apparently were also foreign nationals, so they were assisting them with blankets and interpreting for them alongside the highway.
The 25-year-old driver of the pickup also killed. That highway closed for nearly 7 hours.
All right, Mola, thank you. There's breaking news now. We are learning about a shooting on the campus of Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology, which is in Inglewood, California. You can see the massive police response there. At least 2 people have been transported to a nearby hospital, and we're going to stay on top of this story for you. There are new questions tonight about air traffic over Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport as 2 passenger jets, both forced to abort landings. Take a look. It happened after this Army helicopter was waved off of its own landing, deviating from its planned route. This comes after that Army Black Hawk collided with a passenger jet, crashing into the Potomac, approaching the same airport. Here's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, the FAA and NTSB are investigating why 2 passenger jets were forced to abort landings at D.C.'s Reagan National Airport after an Army helicopter was waved off its own landing and deviated from its planned route.
Delta 1671, climb maintain 3000, go around 3000.
Going around 3000, Delta 1671.
Flight data showing the 2 jets approximately half a mile from the helicopter at different points Thursday afternoon. That Black Hawk chopper headed for the Pentagon.
Stay in touch. So are you trying to land on Pentagon?
Hey, Bob, we were just landing at the Pentagon.
Officials say the aircraft were never on a collision course and that the incidents are not being investigated as close calls. It was only in January, though, that another Black Hawk crashed into an American Airlines flight, approaching its landing at that same airport, killing 67 people. It comes as officials warn the travel headache causing hours-long flight delays at another Northeast hub, New Jersey's Newark Airport, is set to worsen. Multiple shifts of air traffic controllers monitoring Newark airspace now on weeks-long medical leave following an equipment outage on Wednesday. The controllers calling it a traumatic experience. The FAA had already warned that runway construction and a shortage of controllers could cause significant delays at the airport for months. More than 350 flights delayed today. Arrivals delayed more than 2 hours on average. Those staffing issues part of a nationwide shortage of air controllers that the FAA is urgently seeking to address.
You're starting to see cracks in the system, and you can see them in different locations. And it's our job, all of us working together, to not wait until there's a disaster.
Our thanks to Morgan Norwood tonight. And there is this news coming in. The Trump administration is planning a massive military celebration through the streets of Washington. The Pentagon says it will mark the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army and will coincide with President Trump's 79th birthday. News of the military celebration comes amid the president's proposed budget that involves deep cuts to the CDC, Health and Human Services, education, and climate. Here's Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Tonight, the Trump administration planning a massive military celebration through the streets of Washington, D.C. to mark the Army's 250th anniversary, coinciding with the president's 79th birthday. Tonight, the military says the Army is exploring options to make the celebration even bigger. The June 14th parade could involve nearly 7,000 soldiers, tanks and infantry vehicles, helicopter flyovers, and even parachute jumpers. How much it would cost, unclear. News of the possible parade comes as the president is proposing historic cuts to domestic spending, $163 billion on the chopping block. Trump's $1.7 trillion budget proposal for next year slashing half of the CDC budget from $9 billion down to $4 billion, including eliminating the office that works to reduce gun violence and drug overdoses. Education funding cut by $12 billion, including programs that help high-poverty schools. Energy programs also gutted, including an initiative to help low-income Americans pay for their energy bills. Even some Republicans sounding the alarm. Mike Lawler of New York calling those energy cuts reckless, saying it will leave his constituents out in the cold. What the president is hoping to boost, border security and defense spending. The White House touting a 13% increase in military spending, bringing the defense budget to over $1 trillion. But tonight, hawkish Republicans say it doesn't go far enough. The top Republican on the House Armed Services Committee, Mike Rogers, saying he's very concerned the requested base budget for defense does not reflect a realistic path to building the military capability we need to achieve President Trump's peace through strength agenda. But despite those cuts and the economic turmoil, the administration's still hoping to ramp up the Army's anniversary with that lavish parade.
Mary joins me now from the White House. Mary, there were some plans in the works to mark the Army's 250th birthday, but these plans go beyond that.
Yeah, Phil, there were already plans in the works to mark the Army's milestone, but the decision to add on this parade and the fact that it just happens to coincide with the president's birthday is sparking speculation. And you'll recall that Trump, during his first term, tried to throw a similar grand parade, but those plans were scrapped when estimates topped $90 million. And again, all of this news coming on the same day that the president's budget cuts were proposed. Phil.
All right, Mary Bruce from the White House. Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
Joining us now is Paul Rieckhoff, who is the founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America. Paul, thanks so much for taking the time and being here. President Trump announced that he has this intention to rename Veterans Day in November to Victory Day for World War I and then create another federal holiday on May 8th, Victory Day for World War II. I'm wondering what you make of his plan to rename Veterans Day. Good idea, bad idea?
Ridiculous and ignorant idea. Veterans Day is widely celebrated as a day to bring together veterans who are living of all generations, not just from one conflict. And many veterans like myself have participated in conflicts that didn't quite have a victory. If you think about Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan and so many others. And there are other times to celebrate specific victories. The historical background of Veterans Day in America is, of course, Armistice Day, which was the end of World War I. But Veterans Day is about so much more than that. And it's a really unifying, empowering, motivating day for veterans of all generations across the country. And I think this drives a very weird, historically ignorant divide in the middle of all of it.
That's a strong reaction. I'm sure you've spoken to other members about this. What are veterans from your organization or from your just circle of friends saying about this plan?
I haven't talked to anybody who thinks it's a good idea. The Disabled American Veterans just put out a statement that simply said no. I think it just underscores the overwhelmingly negative reaction to this idea. Trump has slipped up with our community on the past on everything from calling veterans suckers and losers to saying that, disparaging John McCain and Gold Star families. So this is not the first time he said something dumb or insulting about our community, but I think this is going to land with a resounding thud. And I hope he will change course and recognize that Veterans Day is about all veterans of all generations, not just from World War I, and not just those that were victorious.
And so, Paul, while I have you, I want to ask you about two other things. Today, the Trump administration put out a proposed budget calling for an increase in defense budget at the expense of some non-defense programs like USAID, and all told, the proposal would cut about $163 billion. So I'm wondering, are you concerned that some of those cuts could come from the Veterans Affairs programs?
Well, it looks like so far the Department of Veterans Affairs is one of the few that will see an increase relative to others. So I'm not surprised about that because most presidents are afraid to actually cut the Department of Veterans Affairs budget, so that may be insulated. But I think the broader issue is that the deeper they cut and the more people they lay off, the more it impacts veterans. Every time a federal worker is fired, 1 in 3 of them are veterans. Many veterans want to continue to serve in the federal government, whether it's at the TSA or Homeland Security, and thousands have been laid off and fired, and many more have been disrupted. So I think we need more specifics, obviously, but it feels like another hit in the gut to a community that's continued to sacrifice over and over again.
And this pales in comparison to that, of course, but I just wanted to ask you something that has been on the president's mind for a while now. We know he has signaled that he wants to have this large military parade in Washington, D.C. on June 14th, reportedly inspired by what he saw on an official visit to France back in his first term. Besides some of the logistical issues surrounding this plan that have been brought up, do you think this is a good idea?
It feels uniquely un-American. I mean, it feels like something you'd see in South Korea. It also happens to correspond with his birthday, which feels like a conflict of interest. And it's not something we've ever really done in America. So we are more about getting the job done than to showing off for the world, and definitely don't want to do anything that appears to be celebrating an individual leader. And I think there's another real risk here. I mean, you might see more protesters than you do people who are actually marching in support of this parade. So it feels like another divisive issue involving our military that thrusts them in the middle of what is an increasingly divisive and toxic political atmosphere. Veterans in the military used to be off limits when it came to all this stuff, but every day we see a new example of how they're being pulled in more deeply.
Yeah, well, whatever happens on all of these issues, Paul Reichhoff, thanks for coming on. Thanks for the service. Thank all your members for the service, no matter what they call the day.
You got it, Phil. Thanks for having me.
All right. And tonight, the White House is backtracking after President Trump said he'll rename Veterans Day to Victory Day, now saying it will be an additional proclamation. The CDC is reporting tonight the numbers of U.S. children who have died this flu season is the highest it's been in 15 years. 216 pediatric flu deaths this season is the most we've seen since the swine flu pandemic of 2009-2010. The numbers are also considered to be an undercount, given that this year's flu season is not yet over, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. The CDC tells ABC News 90% of the children who died were not fully vaccinated. A second teenager has been arrested for arson in connection with last month's New Jersey wildfires. Prosecutors announced a 17-year-old was taken into custody and charged with arson, helping set those wooden pallets on fire before leaving the area. 19-year-old Joseph Kling is already charged with arson. The New Jersey wildfires are 80% contained and have burned more than 15,000 acres. We turn now to the storm system moving across the country and expected to hit the East Coast this weekend. Storm damage was visible in Burnett County, Texas, with destroyed trees, as you see in that area. In Oklahoma, first responders helping someone out of a flooded car. This is in Lawton. Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from our New York station WABC is tracking it all for us. Lee.
Phil, we've had alerts almost every day this week. You look in the same areas, from Texas all the way up into the Ohio Valley. And this severe thunderstorm watch tonight across 10 states. Pretty heavy rain just northwest of Houston and working up toward Knoxville. Some of these storms can produce gusty winds over 60 or 70 miles an hour, even some large hail. But there is a shift over the weekend. These areas will get a break as the rain starts to shift toward the East Coast. So by Saturday evening, strong storms from the Carolinas, D.C., all the way up to Baltimore, even into New York City by the early evening, especially north and west, could be some heavy storms. Showers into the interior of Boston as well. That will start rounds of rain starting Sunday all the way into next week. There'll be a channel of heavy rain that could cause some flooding, but also help drought conditions. Now, going back to the southern plains and lower Mississippi Valley, unfortunately, after that brief break, we've got a renewed threat for flash flooding and severe weather into early next week. Phil?
All right, Lee, thank you. Tonight, Britain's Prince Harry with an emotional interview to the BBC saying he'd love to reconnect with his family, also saying his father won't speak to him. Here's ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell.
Tonight, an emotional Prince Harry revealing he's ready to put the deep rift with the royal family behind him. In an interview from his home in California, the former working royal telling the BBC there's no point in continuing to fight.
I would love reconciliation with my family. there's no point in continuing to fight anymore. As I said, life is precious. I don't know how much longer my father has,
Harry saying the king, who's battling cancer, won't even speak to him because of his legal battle to restore full police protection when he visits the UK. Harry devastated at losing his legal appeal today, claiming his father could easily change it.
I thought with all the disagreements and all of the chaos that's happening, the one thing that I could rely on is my family keeping me safe. And not only did they decide to remove my security in the UK, but they also signalled to every single government around the world not to protect us.
Harry, who's fifth in line to the throne, hasn't brought Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, King Charles' grandchildren, to the UK since 2022. His security downgraded in 2020 when he and his wife Meghan stepped down from their official roles and left the country. Phil, Harry says there are still ongoing threats against him and his family from extremists, including Al-Qaeda, and without full police protection, it isn't safe for him to come back to the UK with his family. Phil?
All right, Ian Pannell tonight from London. Ian, thank you. Next tonight, by this time next week, there could be a new pope. Tonight, we want to take you inside the preps for that secret conclave, installing the chimney on top of the Sistine Chapel where the world will watch for that white smoke. What the cardinals are already signaling about the search for a new pope. Maggie Rulli reports from Vatican tonight.
Tonight, the striking new images on top of the Sistine Chapel. Vatican firefighters on the roof installing a chimney. More than 1 billion Catholics will watch for white smoke, signaling a new pope has been chosen by the cardinals inside. 135 cardinals are under the age of 80 and therefore eligible to vote. At 82, Cardinal Gregorio Rosa Chavez of El Salvador will not be voting, but he's been a part of near daily general congregations where cardinals debate the future of the Catholic Church, and frontrunners for the Pope often emerge.
Do you think it will be a long conclave?
No, 2 or 3 days.
That's it. The consensus is another Pope like Pope Francis?
See?
Many telling him they're looking for a new pope similar to Francis. Sister Rosalia, an Italian nun, saying, "I feel good. I am hopeful that the Holy Spirit will illuminate the cardinals," adding, "The good always wins." At 133 cardinals, the conclave, beginning Wednesday, will have the most number of cardinals ever to take part in the election. 108 were appointed by Pope Francis. 10 are American. Swearing an oath of secrecy, they'll vote twice in the morning and twice in the afternoon until they reach a 2/3 majority.
The old saying is, if you go into the conclave papabile, or like a pope, you come out a cardinal. So the Holy Spirit tends to surprise us. Let's be open to the Holy Spirit and to the cardinal electors.
Maggie joins us now from Vatican City. Maggie, tell us more about what's happening in the days leading up to the conclave.
Yeah, well, so there's so much focus on the conclave, but really these days leading up to it are just crucial because this is when the cardinals all meet in these general congregations. The cardinals give speeches, they get to know one another, they talk about issues that are important to the Catholic Church, they talk about what qualities they even want in a new pope. I mean, essentially, they're shaping the future of the Catholic Church ahead of the conclave. Now, as all of this is going on, also, the cardinals aren't on lockdown yet, so they're actually able to walk about Vatican City. Phil, you know, we see them walking around St. Peter's Square. We see them out at restaurants. You're able to maybe pull one aside to ask them a few questions, often give you a no comment, but sometimes give you these little nuggets about what's actually being discussed. So right now, it's vital because they're making friendships, they're forging alliances, getting all of that done ahead of the conclave, Phil.
It's such great insight into this very secretive thing that happens only when a pope dies. Once it starts, what's it like inside? Any sense of it?
Yeah, well, the conclave, it's just steeped in so much tradition and secrecy, like you said, Phil. It all happens, all the voting happens inside the Sistine Chapel, and the cardinals are locked in. They have no contact with the outside world. There's no phones, no computers. They even bring in technology and equipment to search for any recording devices or bugs. That's the level of secrecy. You know, in many ways, Phil, this is one of the last truly secret things left, and I think it's part of the reason why we're all so intrigued by it, Phil.
Absolutely. All right, Maggie Rulli, thank you from Vatican City. We are tracking several headlines around the world right now. At least 8 people were injured after an SUV drove into a crowd of people in Stuttgart, Germany. Police said 3 of those 8 people were seriously injured and the 42-year-old driver arrested. So far, police say there is no evidence the crash was intentional, describing it instead as an apparent tragic traffic accident. Actor and comedian Russell Brand was granted bail during a court appearance on rape and sexual assault charges. Brand moved through that large crowd you see there of media and onlookers into his brief appearance in a central London court. Officials say the charges against him are related to 4 separate women, with the alleged crime spanning from 1999 to 2005. Brand has denied the allegations. A group of Australian beachgoers, including a father and son, helped rescue a great white shark trapped in shallow waters. Take a look at this. The father and son were crab breaking in South Australia when they found a group trying to help the 10-foot shark. The two used a drone to look at it before deciding to help. Smart move. The group was able to move the shark out into deeper waters. On the economy tonight, the U.S. added 177,000 jobs in April. This number better than analysts had expected. The unemployment rate has held steady at 4.2%, and the stock market continues to rally, with the Dow now up 564 points, reversing the losses since President Trump announced his sweeping tariffs back on April 2nd. We also learned today comedian Ruth Buzzi has died after a long battle with Alzheimer's. Best known for her work on the classic sketch show Laugh-In, she appeared in every episode. Former castmate Goldie Hawn calling her a one-of-a-kind soul. Here's Whit Johnson.
Her sharp wit and physical comedy made Americans laugh during her decades-long career. Ruth Buzzi was best known for her run in the sketch comedy series Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, which aired in the late 60s and early 70s, earning her 2 Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe. Buzzi appearing on several celebrity roasts hosted by Dean Martin as her iconic character Gladys Ormsby, sparring with Muhammad Ali.
And we'll have it all man to man!
Tonight, Buzzi's family sharing in a statement on social media, the beloved actress died peacefully in her sleep at her home in Texas, adding that she had been in hospice care for several years with Alzheimer's disease. And tonight, Ruth Buzzi in her own words.
If I make myself laugh, I know that was funny. I'm my worst critic. And I can laugh the hardest in the room. If I'm funny, you will hear me laugh the hardest, which is kind of embarrassing at times, but I don't care. You know, either something's funny or it isn't. And that was funny, folks. I was funny.
She was indeed. Our thanks to Whit for that. Still to come, a young Arizona baseball team pinch hitting as first responders. We're going to tell you what happened that caused them to race off the field. And the scene where a single mother is found murdered in South Carolina is strewn with rose petals. But why? And who would want her dead? A preview of tonight's shocking 2020.
Many of us just were shocked and amazed about the capacity of someone to cause such destruction.
Welcome back. A single mother in a small South Carolina town was murdered, and investigators uncovered a crime scene strewn with red rose petals. What came next was even more shocking and is the subject of tonight's 2020, the rose petal murder. Eva Pilgrim with a preview.
This isn't your typical murder that you see.
When I walked in, there was a smell like a pesticide smell.
The whole thing seems surreal.
Sheriff's office. I saw like a flower rose tore up.
Absolutely impossible.
It makes utterly no sense.
Many of us just were shocked and amazed about the capacity of someone to cause such destruction.
This was the manifestation of hate.
We've come here to this quiet suburban street in South Carolina to cover one of the strangest crime stories we've ever come across. It's a story of love, betrayal, classical music, murder, a crime scene strewn with rose petals. And it all began at this house on an October morning in 2021 with a 911 call.
Grapeville County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Canebrake Drive. I think I might have a death. Walked into my fiance's house. She wouldn't answer my call. It was a very weird smell, and I can't get her to come around.
The man making the call is 65-year-old Bradley Post, a local retired engineer. His 41-year-old fiance is inside the house.
And he basically said he had found her and he needed help. He needed an ambulance. He needed law enforcement.
Hey, Peter, if I ever, what should I do?
Is she breathing?
No.
And we're going to start CPR, sir.
Okay, I think she's gone.
You think she's gone?
Yeah, because somebody might have shot in the back. I don't know.
Like somebody has shot her? Okay, all right.
No.
And tell me why you think she's dead.
So she won't respond. She got her eyes open.
Eyes are open? All right.
There's a lot of blood.
And a lot of blood. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they dispatched law enforcement immediately, ambulances. And so he just continued to give as much information as he could to 911.
So it looks like somebody may have broke in and shot her in the head.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Over here now.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Get somebody here now.
I've got some people coming, sir. I have everybody coming. I'm sending the paramedics to help now. Step out of the house, and that way wait for the paramedics and the police at the front of the house and leave everything as you found it.
Master Deputy Chris Robinson rushes to the scene. He's the first to arrive.
And then when law enforcement arrived, Bradley Post is standing in the driveway of the house. So he talks to Deputy Chris Robinson with his body camera on.
Hey, man.
So when you pulled up, was he just like standing there waiting for you?
Yes, ma'am. He was just kind of standing to the side over here, just waiting. He was on the phone with someone. How'd you get in the house?
You got to come home right now. Emergency. Come home. Just come home.
We just started talking briefly about what was going on inside. Basic info about when's the last time you saw her and the last time you talked to her.
She went for a job interview. Okay. She left and came back. I called her, texted her twice. Yeah, just from like 9 o'clock. I got her on a tracker.
Yep.
She didn't respond, so I went to the door, no response, so the back door is always unlocked.
Okay.
So I walked around the back door. When I walked in, there was a smell, like a pesticide smell.
Yep.
And I walked in, and I didn't see anything on. I saw like a flower rose tore up, and then I walked in the living room, and she's laying there on her back. There is a lot of blood.
Okay. Do you live here?
No.
You stay here occasionally?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with her most days.
All right, do me a favor, just stand right here.
You went in the back.
You want to help me clear it real quick?
And what did you find when you got inside?
So I went in with another deputy. We started clearing. Sheriff's office. I do smell something. All right, you see what we got? There's a smell in here. All right, you want to hold right, and I'll clear this on the left. We didn't know who was inside. I barely see, and I could see her feet at that point, so I kind of knew what was going on. All right, I got her feet right here in front of me. Continued clearing, made it up to her, saw that there was no signs of life. We kept moving and cleared the rest of the house. Yes, ma'am, we're clearing the house now.
Just to make sure there's no one in the house.
Correct. Pushing in. Sheriff's office. Take one, I'll take the other.
Sheriff's office.
I've been doing this 15 years, and it was pretty gruesome.
And what could you see happened?
First thing I noticed was the rose petals everywhere. I thought that was kind of weird. They were just kind of all over the floor. In no particular, not a pattern, it was just kind of everywhere. This is weird, dude. There was also a chemical odor and just a lot of blood. A lot of blood.
Could you tell that it was a stabbing or a shooting?
I couldn't tell at that point. Our protocol is not to really touch anything. If there's no signs of human life, I don't have to render aid. We try not to contaminate the scene.
Was there anything else about that room that seemed odd to you?
You could tell there was a struggle inside the house at some point. Looked like she was pulled by her ankles or moved somehow. Yeah, let's get out of here with that smell.
And then you came back outside?
Came back outside, kind of locked the house down so nobody in or out. Just lock it down. Definitely not a death odor.
Anyway, I gotta go, Tina. Get home as soon as you can. It's the owner of the house, her sister is.
Okay.
Is she dead?
As far as I can tell, I'm not EMS, man. So, and this is your girlfriend?
My fiance.
Okay. What's her name?
Christina Lorraine Parcell.
Christina Parcell, a single mother of one who police quickly discover has not been shot, but has been stabbed 35 times.
We learned that she was a vet tech and that she was engaged to be married to Bradley Post. And the other residents of there were her sister, Christina Parcell, and Christina Parcell's daughter.
Son of a... She's got a young daughter that's 9.
Lead investigator Jared Sparkman arrives to the scene shortly after Deputy Robinson. When you pull up to the scene, what do you see?
There's a lot of deputies, investigators already here.
Describe to us this crime scene.
So it was very unique. First of all, you don't have many murders that are stabbings. You also see rose petals scattered around in the room where she's at. Something I've never seen before. I definitely thought that whoever killed her brought those flowers in.
People think of stabbings as really intimate, right? Did this seem like a fight, like this was a crime of passion?
That was something that crossed our mind, especially with the rose petals on the ground.
This was no ordinary murder because the nature of the crime was so close and personal, so brutal, that either somebody was really mad at this particular person or something went terribly wrong. Obviously, the first person that you want to talk to is the person that discovers the body. The fiancé of the person.
He's definitely someone that we want to talk to quickly.
What was he like?
Pompous. Always wanted to be the smartest person in the room or the richest person in the room, preferably both.
Wow, Eva, thank you. You can watch the full 2020 tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific time, and then later streaming on Hulu. Still to come, that key student loan deadline is looming. Who will be affected and how much could it cost? We're going to go by the numbers. And without much fanfare at all, the movie Rust is now in theaters.
No student loan has been referred to collection since March of 2020. That comes to an end. On May 5th, the Department of Education will resume involuntary collections for borrowers with defaulted federal student loans.
All right, there you have it. That was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announcing mandatory collections on student loans that will begin Monday. So we are going to take a look tonight at student loan debt in this country by the numbers. 5 million Americans with defaulted student loan payments will have those loans sent to collections on May 5th. That's according to the Department of Education. And that marks the first time since loan payments were paused by the Trump administration due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. About 43 million student loan borrowers had their payments paused in 2020 in the middle of all of that economic hardship. This means that loans that hadn't been paid for 270 days, that's about 9 months pre-pandemic, will now be collected involuntarily if necessary by garnishing wages or intercepting government benefit payments. The government controls a student loan portfolio totaling nearly $1.6 trillion, according to the White House, but fewer than 4 out of 10 student loan borrowers are in repayment. It's also worth noting that college education costs here in the U.S. are at a record high, more than doubling over just the past generation, and women hold nearly 2/3 of that debt. On average, women earning a bachelor's degree graduate owing about $2,700 more than their male peers. according to the American Association of University Women. The White House argues the move is necessary because it's unfair for American taxpayers to shoulder the cost of student loans that borrowers willingly undertook. Still to come, ABC News Live Prime will be covering all the glitz and glam from the Met Gala's red carpet on Monday, and we are talking to one of the biggest stylists to the stars. And you know Rachel Platten for her 2015 anthem Fight Song. She's here to discuss her new album and also teaming up with designer Kenneth Cole to help others with mental health challenges. Welcome back. More than 3 years in the making, the movie Rust is finally hitting theaters. Residents warn police of an intruder. The police leave. A tenant is found dead. And the Arizona baseball team always on its toes. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
The film Rust has finally been released in theaters more than 3 years after cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot and killed on set. Actor Alec Baldwin was using a gun as a prop when it discharged during filming in 2021. He said he assumed it was loaded with dummy rounds. Both Baldwin and the film's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez, were charged with involuntary manslaughter following the incident. The charges against Baldwin were ultimately dismissed after a judge found the state of New Mexico had withheld evidence. Gutierrez was found guilty and is serving an 18-month sentence. A home in Charlotte, North Carolina was completely leveled by an explosion early this morning. Firefighters racing to the scene were then tasked with putting out flames throughout the neighborhood. They also battled subsequent gas leaks and structural instabilities. Officials say only one person was injured from the blast. The cause of it remains under investigation. Los Angeles police released video of a person they say allegedly broke into an apartment and murdered a man inside. Authorities believe the 53-year-old man was killed during a physical altercation with the intruder. The suspect was seen on video armed with a screwdriver, trying to get into various apartment units in the building. The LAPD is asking for the public's help in identifying him. Apple has announced that the devices shipped into the U.S. this following quarter will be from Vietnam and India, the latest in a move to alleviate investors' concerns and customers' worries about the impacts of tariffs on China. Apple's sales have already risen 5% in the first 3 months of the year. Basketball Hall of Famer Greg Popovich will no longer coach the San Antonio Spurs and will transition to a full-time role as the team's president of basketball operations. Mitch Johnson, who was named acting head coach after Popovich suffered a mild stroke in November, now takes over head coaching duties permanently. Popovich is the NBA's career wins leader with 1,422 regular season victories and has taken the Spurs to 5 NBA championships. An Arizona high school baseball team was preparing for a game when they heard an explosion they say sounded like a transformer blowing up.
Me and my boy Bradley were running up there, and we were the first ones on the scene.
That's when players sprang into action and ran toward the fire, alerting the homeowner of what had happened on her property. The woman had headphones on and was unaware. First responders showed up and were able to put the flames out. Eventually, the homeowner came to the baseball game to make sure the team was properly thanked.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and singer-songwriter Rachel Platten is using her powerful voice to spark some important conversations. We're going to have one of those right now. Her multi-platinum 2015 Anthem of Empowerment Fight Song put her on the map, and Platten is now out with a deeply personal and beautiful project, shedding light on her own mental health struggles and helping others with theirs. Her latest release, a stripped-down version of her song Bad Thoughts off her new album, I Am Rachel Platten, comes in partnership with fashion icon Kenneth Cole and his organization, the Mental Health Coalition. Take a listen to this.
I'm bigger than the bad thoughts. I'm better than the way they make me feel. I won't let the bad thoughts take the wheel. I'm bigger than the long nights. I'm brighter than the light they're trying to steal.
Yeah, so take that, Bad Thoughts. Rachel Platten is here. We are so happy to have her. It's really nice to meet you. This is a beautiful album, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. But that lyric, I'm bigger than the bad thoughts, I'm better than the way they make me feel. That's just what we listen to. I can only imagine what state of mind you were in when you wrote that. What inspired you to write all of this?
I struggled with postpartum depression, and songwriting and music became a way for me to heal and find myself again and remember that I'm not just a mom and not in this, it was also during the pandemic. So going to my studio and feeling that creative release was really healing for me. Often the songs that I wrote from this new album were journal entries, were things that were really raw, like tear-stained journal entries that I would turn into songs.
Bad Thoughts and the new album, how does it connect to the massive song that you had and the album back then? Then, I remember hearing you talk about Fight Song, and you sort of wrote that as inspiration for yourself, and that's sort of similar to this, even though the songs are very different, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Like, I find that when I am able to write songs as if they're medicine for me, like, what do I need? Not what do I think will be a hit, or what do I think the world wants from someone who wrote Fight Song, but what do I need in this moment? I'm really usually able to tap into at least my deeper universal truth. And that's when I find that my audience responds the most. When I have had these deeper conversations on tour, I'm on the road right now with my fans in the VIP meet and greets, like, I am seeing how similar we're all feeling.
Well, you must get a lot of stories from fans saying,
beautiful,
that made me think, like, yeah.
Beautiful stories, and also stories from people who are struggling and have felt not able to share that. So I think what I'm most proud of with this new music is that it's opening the conversation a little more and making people see, like, oh, if the Fight Song girl who is so strong and we assume she's this one way, if she is having a hard time or had a hard time and she came through it, well, that gives me permission to maybe share and maybe seek help if I need it.
And there's absolutely no reason you can't be both of those people.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is, right? Everybody
Good job,
is.
but for some reason I think we're in a really binary thing where you're either good or you're bad, or even bad thoughts. They're not bad or they're good. They're just thoughts that we have.
You partnered with Kenneth Cole and his organization, the Mental Health Coalition. What's behind the initiative?
Yeah, I felt really excited when I learned about what they do, and their goal, the MHC's goal, is to help end the stigma around mental health. Like, providing a hub for resources where anyone can go to get free resources, and also just trying to help remove the stigma and let other people know, like, hey, it's okay. If you're share what you're feeling, you'll usually, I promise, be met with so much love and someone being like, oh my gosh, me too, I'm feeling that way too, and then you feel less alone and ashamed.
By the way, how many people tell you when you say breathe in, breathe out, they actually do it?
I make everyone do it. I go around the audience, I'm like, you're not breathing, sir. Okay.
It's just a great part of the song because you say it right in the beginning, like, this is my intention. Take a breath and let's do this together.
And the song,
it's really cool.
Yeah, the song is actually following a box breath. If you ever want to try it and listen, it's 4 counts in, 4 count hold, 4 counts out, 4 count hold. So, yeah.
Oh, I do that before I go to bed.
Good for you.
Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
So nice to meet you.
We want to let our viewers know that through Sunday, May 4th, all sales on KennethCole.com will go to the Mental Health Coalition. And the new acoustic version of Rachel's Bad Thoughts is out now, as is her new album, I Am Rachel Platten, streaming wherever you get your music. It's fashion's biggest night. The Met Gala is Monday, and the theme this year is superfine, tailoring black style. Our Michael Strahan sat down with Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour ahead of the annual fundraiser.
It is true that you know in advance what all the guests will be wearing?
No, many call and ask our advice, or we try and help some of them as best we can. No idea.
Well, Coleman Domingo said he texted you a photo of what he was wearing, and that
we had a discussion.
And he quote, died with the response when you told him it was a work of art.
Yeah. It was his idea. It was a clever idea.
Have you seen the other co-chairs' looks yet?
Lewis, I'm not sure I entirely believe him, says he doesn't have a picture, but it's great. And Pharrell and Rocky have both described to me what they're wearing. It sounds perfect.
So your reaction is perfection, and you trust Lewis?
I trust Lewis.
Okay.
Lewis totally knows what he's doing. Yeah.
And I'm sure they all want your seal of approval.
Yeah.
What are some of the final things that you're trying to lock in place right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, the entertainment is always interesting.
And you haven't locked it in yet?
Well, it's locked in, but you know, locked in and happening are very different things.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that makes me nervous. That really makes me nervous.
All right, Michael, thank you. And this year's theme, Superfine, Tailoring Black Style, is inspired by a cultural and historical examination of Black style over 300 years through the concept of dandyism. Black dandyism came from the intersection of African and European style traditions and is a style of both dress and personal presentation that emerged among Black men, seen as a form of resistance and self-expression within a society that had for so long denied them even dignity. Joining me now is celebrity stylist Vaughn Ford. Vaughn, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You are going to be styling DJ and producer Kate Trinata for the gala.
Yes.
First of all, it just must be so cool as an artist yourself to be able to have a human canvas.
It's so exciting. I mean, this is like the Super Bowl of red carpets, you know? So
Totally.
This is just a really big moment, and this will be Kate's first Met Gala.
How do you interpret Black dandyism?
Well, you know, I look at it as a way that Black people have kind of used it to show self-expression and self-worth, and able to take pride, especially in times where, you know, Black people felt like not to be prideful of themselves, or to really show that, you know, they care and that they mean something to the community.
So I know you're not going to show us any pictures, but can you give us a hint of what you're going to do and how that interpretation of what you just described shows up on a red carpet?
I can't. No, I can't.
The long and short of it is
no,
you can't. Okay,
no.
I had to ask. What kind of looks then do you expect to see on the red carpet?
I'm expecting to see a lot of pinstripes, a lot of suit gowns, zoot suits, and, you know, just like gloves and maybe canes and just extravagant eleganza.
Why is this theme, do you think, not just important for celebrities and stylists, but for fans of fashion in general?
I mean, representation really matters. And I think it's very important to highlight, you know, the Black community and how we contribute to it and to fashion. And it's deserving, you know? It's something that should have been done a long time ago.
And I'm just curious, because you live in this world of fashion, you're right, it is the Super Bowl of red carpets. What have been some of your favorite Met Gala themes from past?
I would say the superhero fantasy theme. That
was cool.
I'm like a big nerd, Marvel nerd and stuff like that. So to see the interpretation of, you know, superhero looks and like the way that fashion brands can interpret it, I thought it was really fun.
Yeah, that was cool. There've been a lot of good ones. It's so much fun every year to see what the celebrities are thinking and how the stylists they work with make it come to life. So very cool. Vaughn, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you again.
I really do appreciate it. And we don't want you to miss all the looks from the Met Gala. Our Deb Roberts is going to be live on the Super Bowl of red carpets. You can catch our live special, the Met Gala, Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And that's our show for this hour. I'm Phil Lipoff. Stay with ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us.